All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Sam Nasser, and this is the Cleveland C# VB.NET user group. Just to go through a brief introduction for the couple of new faces that are here. We meet every fourth Thursday of the month. Meetings are free of charge and open to the public, and we cover every topic related to .NET. Tonight, our speaker is Brij Mishra. He's going to be talking about the 10 ways to make ASP.NET apps faster. Before we get into the presentation, just a couple overhead items. There's pizza and pop in the lobby, courtesy of Arnito, and the space has obviously been sponsored by Brij University, and we thank them both for that. Restrooms, if needed, are out the lounge elevators. And last but not least, if you would please put your cell phones on mute. So, without further ado, we'll launch into our presentation. Brij is a Microsoft MVP. He's new to the Cleveland area, and he's been in development for 15 years. 10 plus. In any case, so I'll turn it over to Brij, and it's all yours.
Okay, thanks, man.
Thank you.
Okay, just start. So good evening, everyone. So hope you guys had very good Xmas, right? I know I was thinking like, no, this is just holiday season. You might be expecting 5 to 10 members. It's like full. So it's really interesting. Okay, so today we are going to talk about few ASP.NET tips that can make your apps faster. The thing is that here the tips that I'm going to talk. If you go online, you'll find a list of tips and tips, best practices, and all those things. And the few common ones are like, use IS compression, use bundling and unification, and maybe there are a few more. Use dispose and all those things. So I was reading some time back, a few days back, and that I was looking for one of the top regions where people face performance issues, and one of the key reasons that I found like people disabling the debug mode, and in the config file people disabling the tracing. So, anyways, so what I'm going to talk about those tips that are not that are common but not rarely used. I'm a developer in principle and Microsoft MVP since blog URL.
On those YouTube handle, Facebook page, I used to do lot of mainly blogs, and sometime I was in India around 2 years back. So there I used to do community activities. Okay.
So whenever we talk about ASP.NET app or any web performance, the first thing come into mind, let's do caching, right? So caching, and when we talk about caching is not just a simple thing, right? Caching involves the whole strategy. Where you want to cache, what you want to cache, at what level you want to cache, whether you want to cache the data at multiple levels, right? And one of the toughest thing in caching is how to invalidate the caching, right? And how to refresh that. So I'm also going to talk about, and let's see, kernel caching. Have anyone used kernel caching?
No. So kernel caching is okay. So before I move ahead, if you have developed your ASP.NET app, it cannot work in isolation. You need a web server or some server where you can host. And primary server for ASP.NET app is IIS. So IIS is the first guy who is going to receive your request, and then it's going to do some processing, then pass it on to ASP.NET app, right? So that your code, what you have written, that can execute it. So
So the kernel caching is also part of IS. So we'll see. So what I'm going to do, I'll just for quick review, we'll just go through the quick architecture of IS, and then I'll go ahead more on this kernel caching. So if I talk about IS is broadly divided in kernel level and user level. And then at kernel level you have HTTPs. So whenever we say that kernel level, it means kernel is part of OS, operating system. And then the HTTPs is also a protocol listener. It's kind of a device driver. It's just, you can say the first person in the OS. It's highly performance optimized. So anything if you are doing here, it's just like you are hardly wasting any more time. So apart from that, so in the user level, there are a few other things like WW service, Windows activation service, and worker pools. I won't go into the detail of this, but it's like this service is just here to manage the HTTPs, and Windows activation services now managing in the application tools, this configuration and how the request gets processed. Okay, so what we are going to do, we'll try to cache something at the HTTPs level. So if we can cache any data at here, it means it would be just pretty quick, right? So yeah, so why should we care about HTTPs? So as I already showed that this is the lowest layer of IS, and if you go and read MSDN, they say this is part of TCP subsystem. So just right from the network it receives as a listener. So if you cache something at the HTTP layer, you have user level and kernel level. You are you are avoiding the context switching between kernel level and user level. So the performance gain that you are going to get. And then the caching that HTTPs provides, you can cache your static data, you can cache dynamic data. It has the queues. So I'll briefly discuss about the architecture of the HTTPs next. So here, this is the architecture of HTTPs, right? So it's like the request is received by this TCP/IP system, and then it goes to that HTTP parser. So HTTP parser receives that request. It parses that URL, and then it goes to namespace mapper. So what it does, it checks whether the response is available in the response cache. If it is available, it just go to the send response, and it will send response in the network. So right from there, it just checks whether the response is there, then it's going to send that. If it is not there, then here there are request queues that I'm showing. The request queues are at the user level. I have shown. I've discussed about application pools. So for any application that you are going to deploy, you need to have application pool. So that you set in when you deploy an IS. So for each application pool, there's a different, there's a unique request queue that is available. So what it does, it has those details. If it is not available in the cache, it's going to put in the right queue. So you send the response. So any quick question on this? Then probably I'll go ahead with the demo. So what I have done for this demo, get Azure VM where we have Windows Server machine, so that's more like server environment. So I'll just go ahead and then So for this demo, I have done a couple of things. I've created a normal, static kind of ASPX page. That's just static data, and that I have deployed here on IS 8. This is Windows Server 2012 OS, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to read the IS log to read the stats, what amount of time it's going to take, and then I have log parser to do that, and then we'll also see some performance counter, and then we'll see some worker process details. So these are the processes. So here I have deployed this app, and then okay.
Okay. So at this point, I'll delete this log file so that we'll start from scratch. That seems. Let me reshare the IS first.
Okay, so logs are deleted. I'm going to, so there should be no worker processes at this point of time. Nothing is there. I'll run this page just to see that it's working. So I got one worker process, it's ran. So the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to create a burst load, right? So there are around 200 requests here. I'll go and, is it visible to everybody?
A little bit blurry.
So around 200 requests now got spawned, and then we got the response. So what next I'm going to do, I'm going to use the log parser.
Look at it now.
There we go. Oh, you went right by it. There you go. You had it there for a second. Stop right there.
Right. Yeah.
There? Yeah. Good.
Thank you. So that's 200 requests at once, or?
Yeah. Okay, so I already know the spawned out request. So what I'm going to do, I have already created a query just to read that IS logs. So here you see that is it visible? It's showing the stats, number of hits around 200, average time taken 294 milliseconds, and the max time taken. So here, because all the things I'm doing on the same server, so it's just in milliseconds, but in the real time scenario it would be more because the network latency and all those things would be there, and it's also just a static phase. So the next thing what I'm going to do, I'm going to enable the kernel caching, and then we'll see what the difference is. So to enable the kernel cache, we'll go to IS. At IS we have a module called output caching, right? And then on the right pane there is a edit feature setting. You can cache, enable these checkboxes. One is enable kernel cache, another is enable cache, and then the first one is user level caching.
So I'll go ahead and enable the kernel cache, and what I'll do, there's one more setting we can do here. I'll just say .aspx, and then I'll enable kernel mode caching. And there are 3 more settings are here, like how do you want to invalidate the cache. So it's like whether you want file change or notification, or based on some time frame. Okay, so let's go ahead.
Can you do this on Azure and on shared hosting?
Yep, you can go, because if you are going to deploy on IaaS, if you have virtual machine, then you can do that. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, so here it is, and then I'll go and restart the IaaS just to start from scratch. I'll delete the log files. Okay, so IaaS got restarted. We don't have any worker process, so it means we got the worker process here, right here, and then I'm going to do again
The same bus load. Right? So I'll go ahead.
So all response came. So let me just go ahead and try that log parser to see the stats. Sometimes it takes a little bit time to for the logs. So